Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 3 Legend of the Dragon King Part 23 based on novel. So let's start. A mecha brigade was at the Master Regiment rank, and it was merely a rank lower than that of East Sea City's chief executive. At the same time, there existed no subordinate relationship between these two ranks. Long Hongshu's face changed color immediately when he found out that this huge, stoic figure was Guang Biao. Even if East Sea City's chief executive was here right now, he wouldn't have the ability to command Guang Biao. I have not come as the mecha brigade captain, but merely as an elder brother with a seriously injured younger brother. Bring out the culprits who caused this, Guang Biao commanded coolly. Chief Guang Biao, I believe there must be some misunderstandings here. Long Hongshu spoke in a much more harmonious tone. There are actually 3 children in your photograph. It can't be that your brother was wounded by those 3 children. Long Hongshu had clear knowledge that Guang Biao was not someone to be trifled with. He was someone who had control of a mecha brigade. This meant that all those burly men behind him were all mecha masters. Although ordinary people could also become a mecha master, this was rarely seen. The majority of mecha masters were soul masters. Even if their ranks weren't high, they still had rich combat experience and extraordinary control of soul devices. In front of such people, their academy really couldn't contend with them, not to mention that the other side could also mobilize mecha. Long Hongshu had also heard of Guang Biao's life. The captain was a legendary figure in his own right. He was from an ordinary family and both of his parents had died when he was a child. Relying on his own talent, as well as his hard work, he had managed to reach his current position at the age of 35. With the position of captain and a soul power cultivation of 6 rings, he was a true soul emperor. His mecha master rank had also reached emperor rank. As for the entire East Sea Academy, the only one with a soul power cultivation of soul emperor would be. Misunderstandings? Children? My brother had been beaten up so badly. As his older brother, it is natural for me to investigate this matter. That will be done at my end, however. Stop your nonsense and hand over these people. I have given East Sea City enough face by waiting here. If you do not hand over those people in 20 minutes, then we shall go and search for them ourselves. Long Hongshu's face darkened as he snapped and said, Captain Guang Biao, you shouldn't go overboard. This is an academy, a place for cultivating students. Which of your lot hadn't before graduated from an academy? I will not hand over the people you seek. If you have the ability, then activate your mecha and step over my dead body. Otherwise, don't think of taking one step into East Sea Academy. The students who were normally critical of Director Long's stern ways now felt their blood boil as they watched this scene. Some senior students even stepped forward of their own accord and stood behind Long Hongshu. Guang Biao suddenly took a step forward. When his foot landed, a deep roar was heard, as if the ground beneath the whole of East Sea Academy trembled from it. The students standing at the front swayed on the spot and fell over. I only believe in strength. Do you all think your students will be able to block me? Where is your sense of righteousness when you declined to hand over the culprits who had wounded my brother so badly? I have tried to talk reason with you, but since my fist is bigger, I shall just go and find those I seek. I'll see then who has the ability to stop me. At this moment, an ice-cold voice sounded from the academy. I dislike talking about reasoning the most. Talking with our fists is much better. The spectators only felt a blur before them as a person appeared in front of East Sea Academy. Clothed in a white chang pao, the person's inky green eyes sparkled as coral blue hair fell down his back. An air of arrogance surrounded him as he stood there, the temperature seemingly decreasing by a few degrees. The feeling was most clear for Guang Biao. When this person appeared, the powerful momentum he had built up just a few moments ago had broken apart, as though it collided against a glacier. Teacher Wu. It's Teacher Wu. Some of the students on East Sea Academy's side had begun to cheer him on. Who are you? Guang Biao's eyes narrowed as he tried to rebuild his momentum. Wu Zhongkong mildly said, those 3 students you are seeking are my students. If you can defeat me, you may proceed. Otherwise, get lost. His voice was frigid, without any feelings behind it. He spoke as if his sentence was a stated fact. Ha 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 ha. Good, I haven't met someone who dared to speak to me in this manner before. You've piqued my interest. Although Guang Biao was smiling, a flame burned furiously within him. A strong ray of yellow light flowed from his body. Yellow, yellow, purple, 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 purple. 6 soul rings appeared from beneath him. Soul Emperor, 6-ringed Soul Emperor. A sudden exclamation broke out within the student body. As he released his martial soul, Guang Biao grew a good half-meter. A metal grey sheen had appeared from his forehead, spreading to his shoulders and upper torso and then the rest of his body. It was as if he had been encapsulated by a layer of armor. At this very instant, 3 clusters of lights appeared, 2 yellow and 1 purple. The 2 yellow lights seemed to be in the shape of a lizard and were identical. As for the purple light, it seemed to be a huge python. Purple, 1,000-year spirit soul. There was no doubt that those 6 soul rings were produced by these 3 spirit souls. Only elites could possess a 1,000-year spirit soul in the world of soul masters. Guang Biao's martial soul was similarly an armored dragon, but the aura it emitted out was far more powerful than Guang Long, and it gave off a feeling that this armored dragon was a mountain too massive to be conquered. Strong momentum formed into something like a tornado that roared towards Wu Zhongkong, blowing up his long blue tresses. At this moment, all of the spectators on grounds felt a sudden chill in their bodies, as if the winter had descended. Guang Biao had caught sight of a pale blue flash. Then the rage of this tornado was halved before it disappeared. Wu Zhongkong stood in the same spot, his white robes afloat, right hand was raised in the air. A pale blue long sword had appeared within his hand. Sword tipped like an autumn spring, the sword's light flowed like a waterfall. White clothes, blue sword, floating in the air like an immortal. Within the East Sea Academy's assembly ground, only a handful had witnessed him fighting before. As such, all of the spectators had their attention focused on that sword. Rings of light appeared from beneath the sword's hilt. These soul rings weren't great in size, but wandered about along the sword's body. Yet, it were the colors of these soul rings that made them bright and eye-catching. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, black. Yes, the last 2 soul rings were black. Black represented 10,000 years. Those were, indeed, 10,000-year soul rings. The air seemed to still, the sky frozen with the appearance of this sword. Wu Zhongkong stood quietly in the same spot, but Guang Biao's previous violent momentum turned to stone. 10,000-year. 10,000-year soul rings. How was that possible? How could they be 10,000-year soul rings? Guang Biao stared at Wu Zhongkong with a dumbstruck expression. Ever since the extinction of soul beasts, very rarely would 10,000-year soul rings appear. Even for the spirit pagoda, wasn't it exceedingly difficult to manufacture 10,000-year spirit souls? But how? How could he have 10,000-year soul rings? What was his true identity? As he was able to obtain 10,000-year soul rings at such a young age, this pressure clearly had an effect on Guang Biao. While his impulsive side was excited when facing a soul emperor possessing 2 10,000-year soul rings, he was no longer certain of his victory. Wu Zhongkong didn't even bother to look at him. Instead, he just lowered his head and stared at the long sword in his hand. Skyfrost Sword, that was the name of his martial soul. It had been ages since the last time he'd used it. He had already condensed his spiritual power into his martial soul long ago. Its reappearance was like reuniting with an old friend. His expression no longer possessed its usual cold indifference, instead, it held a trace of foolishness in it at that moment. It almost seemed as if he were looking at his own lover, a gaze as tender as water. Who? Guang Biao bellowed at the sky. He had already been forced into a corner. If he were to back down in front of all his subordinates, they would think he was a weakling. How would he be able to lead them then? This was the reason why he couldn't back down from this battle now. His first soul ring lit up, causing his armored body to burst with a metallic light. Armored dragon body. Guang Biao suddenly pushed off with his left foot, sweeping towards Wu Zhongkong like a hurricane. 1. At his rank, regardless of whether it were his speed or power, they were both extremely terrifying. His large fist swung upwards as he straightened his body. If one were struck by this fist, they would likely be on the brink of death. Wu Zhongkong was looking at his Skyfrost sword just as before, without a single movement in response. The armored dragon's fist was like a hurricane, its figure massive. At this moment, nothing could disturb the powerful Guang Biao's mind. "Teacher, be careful," Tang Wulin called out from afar. Right at that moment, Wu Zhongkong stirred. He rotated his right hand, causing all 6 soul rings to vanish from his Skyfrost sword simultaneously. Gently raising the tip of his sword, he met the mountain-like fist head-on. Ding 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 ding. A succession of brittle notes rang out. When the first sound rang out, Guang Biao, whose power was like that of a tyrant dragon, was stopped. The following crisp notes had been his scales flying off one after another. In the end, even with his powerful body, he had been forced back a step. He wanted to resist, to release an even stronger amount of soul power, but when that Skyfrost sword touched his fist, an icy sword chi penetrated into his body through. The sword chi was like a needle that followed along the veins and into his body, forcing him to gather all of his soul power in order to mount a defense against it. How could he possibly use a soul skill under such circumstances? 7 brittle notes rang out and he retreated 7 steps. Yet it seemed as though Wu Zhongkong had only sent out 1 sword strike. A blue ray flashed out from his body at the moment of collision. Wu Zhongkong's lofty aura unexpectedly possessed an extremely dense quality to it. His deep green eyes suddenly turned purple, and a purple light blossomed from his pupils as he thrust forth his Skyfrost sword. This was a simple movement that couldn't be made any simpler. From start to finish, Wu Zhongkong's eyes had never left his Skyfrost sword. When he thrust out his sword, however, Guang Biao felt as though something within his body had been set aflame. At that moment, extremely cold sword chi burst forth one after another as Guang Biao felt his mind growing slower and slower, his blood beginning to freeze. Moreover, that powerful martial soul he had relied upon to climb to his current position was completely unable to protect him. It was as if the armored dragon had completely abandoned him. Guang Biao's purple snake spirit soul finally stirred, causing its powerful body to expand. Silver scales sprouted from the spirit soul's purple body and its tail whipped out at Wu Zhongkong from the side. It had to attack the enemy to save its master. All of the onlookers were shocked when they saw that Wu Zhongkong didn't even bother to dodge. That was right, he didn't budge even the slightest bit. An azure light soared up as his eyes continued to release a purple light. Unexpectedly, he just let the 1,000-year spirit soul attack him directly. Kaya's soft sound was heard. At that winning moment, the blue aura around Wu Zhongkong's body clearly became stronger. When his aura intensified, everyone else saw a change. They felt as though Wu Zhongkong's entire body had become a sword, one that was exactly identical to the Skyfrost sword in his hand. The purple snake spirit soul's tail was whipping towards the tip of that sword. A purple light swept past, yet was cleanly cut. The spirit soul released a blood-curdling screech as its body's luster dimmed. Moreover, in that moment, the Skyfrost sword had already arrived in front of Guang Biao. Guang Biao tightly clenched his teeth. Right now, he couldn't use his martial soul's power anymore. His opponent's tyrannical and extreme cold sword chi had killed his connection with his martial soul. He sluggishly pondered over what he could do. In the end, he could only raise his hands to face the attack in front of him and circulate all of his soul power to his palms. Pu. The blue light slowed to a stop. It stopped right in front of Guang Biao's nose, but the ice-cold air emitting from it seemed as if it had created a net of swords, giving off an aura of death that covered his entire body. His palms had already been impaled and had changed to the same light blue color as the Skyfrost sword. Your eyes? You're from that place, Guang Biao said in astonishment. It was clear that he had lost control of himself as his voice quivered. It was uncertain whether this was due to the extreme cold or fear. Wu Zhongkong indifferently said, I was expelled from there because of my temper. So, don't let me see you again. The blue light vanished, and it seemed as if a blue stream of air flowed towards Wu Zhongkong and condensed within his body. His Skyfrost sword disappeared without a trace, and he had long since turned around, walking back towards East Sea Academy. A trace of ice-cold qi that had drilled into Guang Biao's body now flocked back towards Wu Zhongkong. White-clothed, blue sword, sky ice and snow cold, Wu Zhongkong. After the disappearance of Wu Zhongkong, the whole area stayed in deep silence, as if everyone's voices had frozen. Regardless of whether they were teachers or students of East Sea Academy, or Mecha Masters of the Mecha Brigade, what had just happened was too shocking. This was a match between 6 ring soul emperors. They had seen a 1,000-year spirit soul, but also the appearance of 10,000-year soul rings. What was unclear was that while both sides were at the same level, why was Wu Zhongkong able to defeat Guang Biao with 2 sword strikes? Since Guang Biao was the captain of the Mecha Brigade, his battle experience and cultivation had to be suitably high for the position. Even if Wu Zhongkong had better soul rings, he shouldn't have lost that quickly. The disparity could be because their martial souls had a great difference, or Wu Zhongkong had a much greater level of battle experience than him, as well as some other special aspects. Prince Charming, an unknown female's shriek was heard, and East Sea Academy turned into a sea of cheers almost immediately. Students from the Intermediate and Advanced Academy began cheering Wu Zhongkong's name, especially so from Class 5. Each and every one of its students had a flushed face, and stood with their chests raised proudly. Except for the child prodigy Xie Xie, most of those allocated to Class 5 wouldn't feel good about their circumstances, right? Yet, Wu Zhongkong's prowess this match had given the students of Class 5 a sense of fulfillment. Amidst the teachers, Yi Yingrong looked at Wu Zhongkong, her beautiful eyes glazed. She murmured, "Sister, I didn't like his icy looks initially. Although he is handsome, he's like ice. Yet, it seems that I've fallen for him. He's handsome enough to forget those flaws." By Yi Yingrong's side was a woman about her age that didn't seem all that different in looks from her. Currently, her eyes were also glazed over. 6 rings. He really has 6 rings. I had previously thought I had a chance at pursuing him, but it seems I will never be able to get my revenge on him. From what he has shown just now, it seems he'd be able to duel and beat a 7-ring soul sage. There's no doubt that he is from that place. Yi Yingrong turned and looked towards her elder sister beside her. She spoke with a bitter smile, "Sister, aren't you too vindictive?" Yi Yingluo's beautiful eyes burned with stubbornness. "No one has ever rejected me, he was the first. He shall pay the price for that." Sun with rays. Guang Biao stood frozen at the same spot for over 10 minutes. It was only then that the chill within his body began to slowly disappear. His pulse then regained its normalcy, and his soul power and martial soul returned. Blood started to drip out of the wounds on both his hands. A wave of fear flashed through his eyes as he looked down at his palms. That guy is terrifying. He definitely isn't a nobody. "Captain, what about us?" A man with a similarly valiant build rushed up to Guang Biao and mumbled, "Shall we activate our soul devices and mecha?" Guang Biao raised his hand and sent the man staggering. "Bullshit. If you want to die, don't drag me along. Trying to wipe away today's matter is already difficult. If we also activate our soul devices and mecha, do you think we'll survive? Go back." Guang Biao gave a deep sigh as he looked at his younger brother, who still lay on the stretcher. If it were somebody else, he wouldn't have stepped in and meddled with their matters. It didn't take much thought for him to know that this matter would trace back to him from East Sea City's administrative department. Yet, this was his younger brother's matter. He doted on his younger brother greatly. He was the elder of the 2 Guang brothers, and had been gifted with extraordinary strength since childhood. Guang Long had the similar talent as well, but it was difficult for their poor family to also support him. Even though Guang Long performed well at the academy, he couldn't fuse with a spirit soul, so that process had been delayed. Guang Biao tried to help his younger brother at all costs. He hoped that with his aid, Guang Long would be able to fuse with a spirit soul. Yet, he'd already grown past the best age, so it was all too late. Thus, Guang Biao always felt a strong guilt towards Guanglong. Guanglong had since become a broken jar and collected protection money and got into drunken brawls, becoming a criminal. With the backing of Guang Biao, he was regarded as a lawless existence within East Sea City. Since he had suffered such a great loss, Guang Biao had become furious and had brought the troops along to stir up some trouble. Yet, it had ended like this. They had collided against a metal wall. Sun with rays. Tang Wulin, Xie, and Ji Yu were taken back to their dorms by a wave of ice-cold soul power. Return and continue training. Wu Zhongkong sounded as icy as usual. Teacher, aren't you going to blame us? Tang Wulin couldn't help but ask Wu Zhongkong this since it had been them who'd caused this mess. Wu Zhongkong gave him a quick glance. Did all of you do anything wrong? Why would I blame you guys? Return to your training. You are not allowed to leave the academy during the night anymore, rest days included. Yes? Wu Zhongkong walked away, and Tang Wulin's trio went back to their respective dorm rooms. Wulin, I'm still trembling slightly. What just happened? Xie gripped onto Tang Wulin's arm tightly. He was indeed still trembling. Tang Wulin questioned him suspiciously, Are you cold? Xie's eyes shone brightly. No. Not cold. I'm excited. I never knew that Soul Masters could be so powerful. Did you feel anything? During the moment Teacher Wu drew out his sword, it was as though the surroundings had changed, freezing with its appearance. That's an expert, a true expert. It would be amazing if I could be as powerful as Teacher Wu one day. Tang Wulin slapped his hand and snapped, Then we should quickly get back to meditating. You almost at rank 20, do you still not know how to work hard? Xie answered him doubtfully, Weren't you excited when you watched the scene just now? Tang Wulin replied plainly, Yes, I was. But what good does it do me? Teacher Wu had also slowly trained himself to be where he is now. We can only train hard as well. Xie rolled his eyes. I'm defeated by you. You can go meditate. I'll stay excited for a while more. Giving him a helpless smile, Tang Wulin got back onto his bed and into a meditation position. How could he not be excited? It was the opposite. He was probably even more excited than Xie, only he kept it deep within him and didn't let it show. Grow stronger, I want to grow stronger. Tang Wulin took in a deep breath, his mind focusing on the image of Wu Zhangkong's two sword strikes. With that, he started his meditation. That pair of sword strikes from his teacher was just too amazing. It had almost felt like an alien energy. He recalled how Wu Zhongkong seemed to draw on his mind and heart when he attacked with those two sword strikes. It was as if Wu Zhongkong had turned into the center of the universe and had wielded that universe in the fight against Guang Biao. It might be that for others, Wu Zhangkong's second sword strike was the most shocking. When his Skyfrost sword had emitted that ice-cold sword chi, it gave off a momentum that seemed as though it could shatter a forest of bamboo. Yet, to Tang Wulin, it had been that first sword strike that left him shocked. When Wu Zhongkong lifted his blade and pointed it to the ground, it was done in a gentle and free motion, without a trace of forcefulness behind it. In that situation, Tang Wulin hadn't been able to clearly see what happened next. Yet, when Wu Zhangkong's Skyfrost sword touched Guang Biao's fist, he could clearly hear a sorrowful dragon's roar echo within his mind. Moreover, this dragon's roar reverberated continuously. As one scale flew off that fist, one after another, that pained dragon's roar caused his mind to tremble. He felt as though Wu Zhangkong's attack had actually been targeting himself. In fact, after the scales flew off, he could even feel the chilling sword chi that had entered Guang Biao's body, and the suffering it caused to his martial soul. In that moment, Tang Wulin's heart trembled, and another voice appeared within the depths of his mind. That voice had been in extreme rage, and the burning, hot sensation he'd felt when he was stabbed by the light dragon dagger appeared once more. Although it was only for a brief moment and it hadn't caused his body to transform, it still made him greatly shocked. From the moment the power first appeared to now, it seems to have been appearing more and more frequently. Tang Wulin realized that his body seemed to be hiding some sort of secret deep within it. Moreover, this secret likely had something to do with the mutation of his blue-silver grass. With this thought in mind, Tang Wulin's heart couldn't help but stir restlessly. Normally, it would be very easy for him to enter a state of meditation, yet today, he couldn't keep a tranquil state of mind for a long time. Yun Xiao and Zhu Xiangxi had already returned to the dorm. Despite being normally calm, Yun Xiao was in high spirits as he discussed with Zhu Xiangxi and Xie Xie about Wu Xiangkong's two sword attacks and his charm. Tang Wulin could hear their discussion. As he attempted to enter a meditative state, his mind was gradually filled with more and more distracting thoughts. That continuous dragon's roar had excited his body. It seemed that something special was growing within his body. Gradually, his consciousness became hazy, and the dragon's constant roaring died down. It seemed that he was finally entering a meditative state. He gently circulated his soul power. The others were already meditating at this time, so they didn't see the golden vein pattern appear on Tang Wulin's tailbone. A scorching heat suddenly enveloped his body, causing his entire being to start trembling. His brows were knitted, as if he were in extreme pain. Darkness. It was pitch-black darkness. Nothing could be seen through this darkness. Tang Wulin discovered that he had arrived in a pitch-black world. Suddenly, a golden light appeared off in the distance. The golden light was simply too dazzling, and he couldn't help but give it all of his attention. The golden light drew closer and closer, causing its enormous size to become more apparent the closer it came. When Tang Wulin could finally and clearly see what it was, he was shocked to discover that it was actually a gigantic golden dragon. The golden dragon had 5 claws, and its entire body was covered in large golden scales. A pair of horns sprouted from its head, and its form serpentine. Why did he know it was a dragon? It was clearly different from the dragons on the continent. It didn't have any wings and it had 5 claws under its belly. Yet, how did he know it was a dragon? The golden light suddenly blossomed, giving Tang Wulin the feeling of one looking down upon the land. When he lowered his own head, he could see his body. At this moment, his body seemed somewhat illusory. He was standing atop an azure tile floor and it seemed that he was in an enormous hall. Floating up in the air within this hall was that gigantic golden dragon. Compared to before, he could see much more clearly now. Tang Wulin was amazed to discover that the dragon was over 100 meters long and had 18 rings of light around it. Every single ring of light emitted a limpid blue radiance. He didn't know why, but when Tang Wulin saw this blue light, the first thing he thought of was actually his own blue-silver grass. "You've arrived at last." At that moment, a pure, cold voice resounded throughout the hall. In an instant, the entire hall was lit up by a golden radiance which then condensed in the center into a human form. The form's body was very transparent and it was impossible to make out his exact appearance. It was almost as if his body was made purely of light and shadows. "Who are you? What is this place? Am I dreaming?" Tang Wulin asked. "Maybe you are. I don't know who I am either." That golden silhouette's voice seemed to be at a loss. "I am just a thread of divine consciousness. I am a thread of divine consciousness dedicated to guiding you. You could say that this is a dream of yours, but you could also say that it's a part of your body." Tang Wulin was only 9 years old after all, so his curiosity was much greater than his fear. He curiously asked, "So you're saying I have a dragon in my body?" The golden figure said, "It isn't just a dragon, but a dragon king. To be more precise, it is the soul, one, of the golden dragon king." Tang Wulin asked in awe, "Is it my martial soul?" "No," the golden figure answered. "In a certain sense, it is a disaster for you. This is because the golden dragon king's energy is too strong, so your weak body cannot bear it. If its energy should ever break loose, you will die." "Die?" Tang Wulin was dumbfounded. He was still young and had never expected to face the concept of death so soon. If he died, then what would happen to his mother and father? He wouldn't be able to go search for Enea either. Will I definitely die?" Tang Wulin foolishly asked. "If it was certain, then I wouldn't appear here. If you follow my instructions, you will have a chance at life. It will, however, be very difficult for you." The golden figure's voice was soothing. Tang Wulin bit his lip. Then what do I need to do? The golden figure solemnly said, since you have come here, it is proof that you can already sense the soul's power and are beginning to be influenced by it. The Golden Dragon King possesses the greatest physical strength, so its energy will also affect your body. Doesn't your strength surpass that of ordinary people? Before this, Tang Wulin had still thought it was a dream. Yet, when he heard the golden figure's words, he gradually came to realize that perhaps it wasn't a dream after all. At the very least, this wasn't as simple as a dream. Yes. My strength is much greater than ordinary people, Tang Wulin said honestly. The golden figure said, that is because you're already being influenced by the Golden Dragon King. The Golden Dragon King's energy is like a ticking time bomb within your body. It is only because of those 18 seals on its almighty body that you are still able to live. In order to solve this issue, you can only rely on yourself. The Golden Dragon King's power is immense, but those 18 seals restrict its strength sequentially. In order to live, you must undo those seals one by one in order to gradually assimilate the Golden Dragon King's energy. The day you are able to completely assimilate all of its energy is the day when you are truly safe. Assimilate? How do I assimilate its energy? Tang Wulin urgently asked. Not the same kind of soul as martial soul. This video will end here.